I'll finish up the question about glazing, and then for the people who are here new in the afternoon, I am midway through making a teapot, much like this one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what's happened and then complete that. But the question has to do with glazing, and my comments were that I'm really an uncomfortable person with the glazing process. It's just always been one I struggle with. But these pieces were fired in a soda kiln. It could be a salt kiln. They're the same or at least similar. And to know a little bit about salt firing. Salt firing originally was a labor-saving technique. The pieces could be lined with a slip clay or slip glaze on the inside, put into a kiln. They were fired without bisquing. Everybody knows what the bisquing process is, obviously. And they were heated up, and when they got up to the temperature required, salt was introduced into the firebox of the kiln. Salt travels through and it combines with silica that's in the clay to complete the glazing process. So in that regard, it was labor saving. And salt glazed pots started in Germany. Most early American pottery was salt glazed, and it was just strictly for the ease of doing it. There is a little bit of history to it, and this is one of those things where academia spends a tremendous amount of time and money arguing over its origins, but it's pretty much consensus that salt firing originated in Germany, and it originated in pottery villages that were away from the sea, but it's believed that they learned about what the effects of salt because they basically ran out of wood for their kilns and started breaking up the barrels that salted fish came to their village in, and they noticed that there was a difference. And so that's where that is. But back to the pots. I glazed the upper part. I sprayed it in some sort of random pattern down here. This part, because this is porcelain, this is basically a white clay. This is what the porcelain would be, white. I sprayed a titanium or yellow slip in here to create that color and that tone, and if you look at it, you'll see some golds and tans in there. And these colors are a product of overlapping. So this is a drier slip, which I'm not supposed to, it said in the thing, best used underneath glazes, so I put it on top. Anyway, so that's what that is. Same thing here is that this is stoneware, and so that's what is typical of a salted surface or soda-fired surface would be on bare clay in the kiln. So in this case, this was a Temmaku, which I'm sure you have a Temmaku in the studio, and I sprayed over the top of it a little bit of overlapping with the same slip. I didn't carry it down so far because I knew that the stoneware would have warm tones, and so that's what that is. And you can see that the soda really reacts on the Temmaku and does a lot of really interesting things, creating amber colors and that sort of thing. So, does that answer that question better?
Yes.
And I understand that better than I do the dipping and everything else that goes along. I would rather spend my time at the wheel, and for some reason that for me is a little more
Do
freeing.
you spray more often than you did?
Yeah. So I want to continue what I was doing. I'm building a body of a teapot, and I built it up out of parts. I don't know. This part right here was thrown as one piece. bottomless and manipulated while it was still wet. Very much like this is. Then I placed a piece similar to this that was stiffened on a thrown slab of clay and put a new bottom in it because, whoops, I'm going to lose everything trying to do this. Because it looked basically like that. So then I threw up the bottom, fitted that piece to the slab and trimmed it away and made sure that it was fine. Then, where are we? And then I made this shoulder piece, thrown bottomless. I threw it all the way out so it was just a ring, threw it back in, and created this shoulder piece, which is what you're seeing right here. So that's what's gone into making the body of this pot. So now I want to finish doing this. And this piece has some rigidity that this one doesn't have. They're just a little different on drying. So I've gone in, I've found the depth that I want, and I'm just simply going to follow. First time will be a little crude. And this morning we talked an awful long time about the timing of things, and this is one of those steps where catching the timing between pieces, you know, if you catch it right, it's just easy and wonderful. And if you catch it wrong, you kind of fuss and struggle. And this actually isn't too bad. I do usually have, this is one of those, I'm not going to send you out for this.
Front like that?
No, actually,
Spray
bottle?
Spray bottle?
Make sure that's water.
As opposed to what?
Gasoline?
We have one with WD-40.
One of them stinks. It's not marked.
I'm just going to dampen the surface just a little bit.
Things to put on the bottle.
And I don't know how many of you have had the experience of mudding and sheetrocking, but there is a relationship.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to go along and I'm going to blend that surface together. It's always funny when you talk in terms you're familiar with and find out the audience doesn't have a clue. It's like describing what reduction is, and I always use the reference to a carbureted car, and I get, what? What? Carbureted? Anyway, so I'm going to go around and just blend these elements together. And as I told the group this morning, you have to tell me as soon as you think I'm laboring, just tell me I get the point, move on. Unless it's my fault, I'll ignore that. And I am going to just stop. I'm going to stop a little short of where I would if I were working on it in my studio, but I think I will slightly more interesting form than the last one I made, so I think I'll probably come back to it and finish it at some point. But I can now just pick it up and take it off. So you get an idea now about what I've done in terms of altering the form.
What's that wire made out of?
This is 270-pound test fishing leader. It's stainless steel. This is one of those things where they actually think I know what I'm talking about. They send me catalogs. They want me to buy a $3,000 reel, and all I'm doing is buying the wire and the little black clippy things that I don't know what they're supposed to be called. It's relatively